Couple more quick clips, and then we'll pick up your phone calls, your thoughts on last night's debate and, what this is all about. I'll just, once again recap my take on last night. When somebody is lying, no matter how smoothly they lie, and Mike Pence is very good at this, saying things that he knows are not true or that everybody else knows are not true, and maybe he actually does believe, but whatever. Mike Pence is so facile at this. He's so, he can look you right in the face and tell you something that is absolutely not the case. And he did that repeatedly last night. And Tim Kaine kept interrupting him, saying, "Wait a minute, that's not true. That's not true." And Kaine is getting, the media is saying, "Oh, well, the optics of that were bad." How about talking about the substance? So Tim Kaine said, in this clip number 5, Danielle, that we have a 5-point plan for the economy. And he just laid it out. Here's how, Trump's plan for the economy is tax cuts for billionaires. It's been scored at between $3 and $5 trillion. It'll add to the national deficit. The Clinton plan will add a couple of $100 billion to the deficit. It's 0.2 trillion. Trump's is 3 to 5 trillion. There is no. And frankly, if you include the assumption of economic growth in Clinton's plan, then that $200 billion goes away even. And Tim Kaine laid this out. This is an actual plan as opposed to, oh, we're going to recycle the Ronnie Ray gun because that worked out so well for us, didn't it? When the savings and loan collapsed and we had the biggest crash in the stock market since 1929 back in the 80s, and then wages flattened out and factories started going overseas and it was the end of the middle class. Yeah, that worked great. Let's do that again. That's Mike Pence's strategy. Here's what Tim Kaine had to say.
Elaine, on the economy, there's a fundamental choice for the American electorate. Do you want a you're hired president in Hillary Clinton, or do you want a you're fired president in Donald Trump? I think that's not such a hard choice. Hillary and I have a plan that's on the table that's a you're hired plan. 5 components. First thing we do is we invest in manufacturing, infrastructure, and research in the clean energy jobs of tomorrow. Second thing is we invest in our workforce, from pre-K education to great teachers, to debt-free college and tuition-free college for families that make less than $125,000 a year. Third, we promote fairness by raising the minimum wage so you can't work full-time and be under the poverty level, and by paying women equal pay for equal work. Fourth, we promote small business growth, just as we've done in Virginia. To make it easier to start and grow small businesses, Hillary and I each grew up in small business families. My dad, who ran an ironworking and welding shop, is here tonight. And fifth, we have a tax plan that targets tax relief to middle-class individuals and small businesses and ask those at the very top who've benefited as we've come out of recession to pay more.
At which point Pence, well, pay more? What? What? Rich people pay more? Oh, no. Well, he didn't say that, but, it's just that's where they were going. And, he's just laying it out very, very straightforward. Pence, on the other hand, says, apparently, we're all supposed to start trying to figure out how to avoid paying taxes. Now, I realize, people do take deductions. In fact, Pence 3 different times tried to bait Tim Kaine last night. As I recall, it was 3 times. It might have been more, it might have been less. But I thought I caught 3 of them, where he said, don't you take all the deductions available to you? Well, most people do. But most people don't have a deduction available to them that will wipe out their income taxes for 18 years, no matter what kind of losses they have. You lose your job, you lose your home, you lose your car, you find yourself living in a cardboard box for 2 years because the economy went in the tank. You can't, right, and then you get a job, and for the next 2 years you make an income. You can't say, hey, I don't want to pay income taxes because for the last 2 years I had huge losses. You can't do that. Only Donald Trump could do that, apparently. Well, Donald Trump and about 500,000 other Americans who are identifying themselves as real estate developers or are running businesses where they can it's called smoothing their taxes. But anyhow, here's Mike Pence. This is apparently the a major piece of the economic strategy for the Republicans.
His tax returns that showed he went through a very difficult time, but he used the tax code just the way it's supposed to be used, and he did it brilliantly.
How do you know that? You haven't seen his tax return.
Because he's created a business that's worth billions of dollars today.
How do you know that?
And with regard to paying taxes, this whole riff about not paying taxes and people saying he didn't pay taxes for years, Donald Trump has created tens of thousands of jobs, and he's paid payroll taxes, sales taxes,
Senator, I'm going to give you about 30 seconds.
Right. He's created tens of thousands of jobs, and right now, a lot of those jobs are at a casino in Las Vegas that voted to unionize, and Trump won't let them unionize. I mean, this is how bizarre it all gets.